The email arrived at the Royal Marines Commando Training Center in Limestone, Devon, on a gray Tuesday morning in March 2023. Major James Thornton read it twice, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Sir?" His second-in-command, Captain Oliver Walsh, noticed the expression. "Something amusing? The Americans have issued a challenge," Thornton said, sliding the tablet across his desk. "They're inviting a Royal Marines team to participate in Navy SEAL Hell Week at Coronado. Full immersion, no modifications, no special treatment. They want to see if British commandos can handle what they consider the world's toughest military selection." Walsh read through the invitation, his eyebrows rising. "That's ambitious of them. Do they not know who we are?" "Apparently they think their Hell Week is significantly harder than our training," Thornton replied. "The tone of this email suggests they expect us to struggle, maybe even quit." Walsh looked up, his expression hardening. "When do we leave? The Royal Marines have a reputation built over 358 years of naval infantry operations. Their commandos undergo one of the longest and most brutal infantry training courses in the world. 32 weeks of relentless physical and mental challenges culminating in a series of tests that break approximately 40% of candidates. They're trained to operate in extreme cold, experts in amphibious warfare, and veterans of every major British military engagement from the Falklands to Afghanistan. They don't quit, ever. 6 weeks later, a team of 8 Royal Marines arrived at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado in San Diego, California. The American reception was professional but tinged with barely concealed skepticism. "Gentlemen, welcome to Bud," announced Master Chief Petty Officer Daniel Rourke, a SEAL instructor with 20 years of experience and a face that looked carved from granite. "I'll be straight with you. Hell Week breaks 75% of our candidates. These are American athletes, college graduates, men who've trained their entire lives for this. No disrespect to your military, but this is a different level. If any of you need to ring out early, there's no shame in it." Color Sergeant Tom Fletcher, the senior Royal Marine, simply nodded. "Understood, Master Chief. We're ready when you are." Rourke studied the British team. They were fit, clearly, but not massive. Most were between 5 feet 9 inches and 6 feet 0 inches, lean rather than bulky. They looked almost understated compared to the American Buds candidates, some of whom were former college football players with physiques sculpted in state-of-the-art gyms. What Rourke didn't see was the coiled steel beneath their quiet demeanor. These weren't gym athletes. These were men forged in the Scottish Highlands during winter, in Arctic Norway, in the unforgiving training grounds where Royal Marines learn that mental toughness trumps physical size every single time. Hell Week began on Sunday evening with Breakout, a simulated combat scenario designed to shock candidates into the week ahead. Instructors fired machine guns loaded with blanks, threw smoke grenades, and unleashed chaos while candidates performed endless sets of push-ups, flutter kicks, and surf torture in the frigid Pacific Ocean. The American candidates reacted with controlled panic. This was expected, trained for, but still shocking in its intensity. The Royal Marines barely blinked. They'd experienced similar shock tactics during their own training where directing staff used live ammunition fired over their heads during exercises. "In the surf! Move!" Rourke screamed. Everyone sprinted into the 58-degree water. The cold was immediate and brutal, designed to sap body heat and mental resolve within minutes. Candidates were ordered to link arms and sit in the churning surf as waves crashed over them. Fletcher glanced at his team. Marine Tom Hendricks was grinning. Actually grinning. "Bit warmer than Norway, this," Hendricks muttered, referencing their Arctic warfare training, where they'd spent weeks operating in sub-zero temperatures with minimal shelter. An American candidate next to him looked over in disbelief. "Warmer? Are you insane?" "Probably," Hendricks replied cheerfully. "The first night was sleepless chaos. Constant physical evolutions, races on the beach carrying boats, log PT where teams lifted and maneuvered massive telephone poles through various exercises. Instructors screamed continuously, looking for signs of weakness, for candidates who would give up and ring the brass bell that signaled voluntary withdrawal. By Monday morning, 3 American candidates had rung out. The Royal Marines looked tired but utterly determined. There was something in their eyes that Rourke was beginning to recognize, Not defiance exactly, but an acceptance. They'd internalized the suffering, made peace with it, and decided to simply endure. "They're different," Rourke admitted to his fellow instructor, Senior Chief Bill Matthews, during a brief break. "I can't put my finger on it." Matthews nodded. "They don't fight it. Our guys are tough, don't get me wrong, but they're still wrestling with the suck. The Brits just exist in it, like it's normal." Monday became a blur of boat races where 7-man crews carried heavy inflatable boats on their heads while running through soft sand, then into the surf for capsizing drills, then back to the beach for more PT, then back to the water. The cycle was endless, punctuated only by meals that candidates were too exhausted to properly eat. The Royal Marines operated with eerie efficiency. During boat evolutions, they moved as one organism, anticipating each other's movements without speaking. When instructors ordered them to low crawl through the surf zone, a particularly miserable evolution where you inch forward through shallow water as waves wash over you, they maintained steady progress while American candidates around them faltered. Color Sergeant Fletcher had a technique he'd learned during his own Royal Marines training: box breathing combined with mental compartmentalization. Break time into manageable chunks. Don't think about the next 4 days. Think about the next 4 minutes. Master those, then master the 4 after that. He passed this wisdom to younger Marines during brief moments when instructors weren't actively making them suffer. Don't fight the cold. Accept it. Your body will adapt. Your mind already has. Tuesday brought the infamous steel pier evolution. Candidates sprinted to a concrete pier, dove into the cold Pacific, swam to shore, and repeated this until ordered to stop. Then came surf passage, where boat crews paddled their vessels through massive surf, capsized repeatedly, and had to recover while being hammered by waves. This was where Hell Week typically claimed the most victims. The combination of exhaustion, cold, and the very real danger of drowning in heavy surf broke even strong candidates. An American candidate in Fletcher's boat crew, Seaman Jake Morrison, was struggling. He'd been strong for the first 2 days, but now his movements were sluggish, his eyes glassy. During one capsizing drill, he went under and didn't immediately surface. Fletcher reacted instantly. He dove under, found Morrison disoriented beneath the overturned boat, and hauled him up. Once they'd righted the vessel and climbed back in, Fletcher grabbed Morrison's life vest. "Look at me!" Fletcher commanded, his voice cutting through Morrison's confusion. "You're not done. Your body thinks it's finished, but your body is a liar. I know you have more. Show me." Something in Fletcher's absolute certainty reached Morrison. He nodded, took a shuddering breath, and picked up his paddle. They completed the evolution. Later, during a rare 10-minute break, Morrison approached Fletcher. "Thanks for that. I was gone." "No, you weren't," Fletcher replied. "You just needed reminding. In the Royal Marines, we have a saying, cheerfulness in adversity. It means you can choose how you respond to suffering. You can let it beat you, or you can laugh at it. I suggest laughing." Morrison looked at the exhausted, hypothermic British commandos sitting around him. Several were indeed smiling, making quiet jokes about the insanity of their situation. It seemed impossible given the circumstances, but they were finding humor in Hell Week. "You guys are crazy," Morrison said, but he was smiling too. Wednesday, halfway day, was traditionally the darkest period. Candidates had been awake for over 72 hours, operating on perhaps 15 minutes of cumulative sleep snatched during rare breaks. Hallucinations became common. Men saw things that weren't there, forgot their own names, operated on pure instinct. The Royal Marines were suffering like everyone else, but they'd been here before. The commando tests at the end of their training included the 30-miler, a 30-mile load-bearing march across Dartmoor that had to be completed in 8 hours while carrying 32 pounds of equipment. Many candidates attempted it while already exhausted from previous tests. The mental state required was similar: shut down conscious thought and become a machine. During Wednesday's log PT, where 7-man teams performed exercises with a 200-pound log, the Royal Marines boat crew was paired with Americans. The team included Morrison and several others who were on the edge of quitting. Marine Sergeant Alex Davies, one of the British team, noticed the Americans' deteriorating mental state. During a brief rest, he started singing, Quietly at first, then louder. It was the Globe and Laurel, a traditional Royal Marines march. Other Marines joined in, their voices rough with exhaustion and hoarse from screaming carried across the beach. It was absurd singing during Hell Week, but it was also defiant, a middle finger to suffering. The Americans and their crew stared in disbelief, then something shifted. Morrison joined in, not knowing the words, just adding his voice to the sound. Others followed. The instructors watched with grudging respect. Master Chief Rourke shook his head. "I've seen a lot of Hell Weeks," he muttered to Matthews. "Never seen anyone sing through log PT on Wednesday." Thursday brought a slight mercy. Candidates were finally allowed to sleep, 4 hours of actual rest, enough to restore a fraction of cognitive function. But first came the around-the-world paddle, a several-mile journey in boats through the bay, followed by more surf passages. By now, the attrition rate among Americans had reached 68%. Of the original class of 47, only 15 remained. All 8 Royal Marines were still going. The British commandos looked absolutely wrecked. They were covered in sand rash, their hands swollen and bleeding from paddling, their lips cracked and faces gaunt from caloric deficit. But they were still functional, still moving with purpose, still maintaining their dark humor. During the precious sleep period, Fletcher remained awake for the first 15 minutes, checking on his team. Marine Corporal James Reed was shivering violently despite being wrapped in every available piece of clothing. "Can't stop shaking, Color Sergeant," Reed whispered. "Think something's wrong." Fletcher recognized early hypothermia. He immediately alerted the medical staff, who evaluated Reed. His core temperature had dropped to 94.5 degrees, borderline dangerous. The doctors recommended he withdraw. Fletcher pulled Reed aside. "Doc says you're borderline. You can ring out with a medical, no shame. Or we can warm you up, monitor you closely, and you can continue. Your call, but I won't let you die for pride." Reed considered for maybe 5 seconds. "Warm me up. I'm finishing." The medical team stabilized him, and Reed rejoined his crew for Friday's final evolutions. Friday afternoon, as Hell Week concluded with a final evolution called So Solly Day, a series of seemingly endless exercises designed to test whatever will remains, Master Chief Rourke stood before the survivors. 15 Americans, 8 Royal Marines, 23 men who'd endured one of the military's most notorious selections. "Gentlemen," Rourke began, his voice showing rare emotion, "you've completed Navy SEAL Hell Week. That puts you in an extremely small group of human beings. Be proud." He paused, looking specifically at the British contingent. "I need to address something. When you Royal Marines arrived, some of us thought this would be a learning experience for you, that you'd see what real special operations selection looked like. We were wrong. You didn't just complete Hell Week, you thrived in it. You maintained discipline, boosted morale, and showed our candidates what true mental toughness looks like." Rourke stepped forward, looking at Fletcher directly. "Color Sergeant, your team never came close to quitting, not once. And more than that, you helped our guys get through. Morrison there would have wrung out Tuesday if you hadn't pulled him back from the edge. That's leadership we can all learn from." Fletcher, barely able to stand, managed a nod. "Master Chief, with respect, we didn't do anything special. We just remembered that pain is temporary, but the pride of finishing lasts forever. That's not British or American, that's just truth." The ceremony concluded with handshakes and genuine mutual respect. The Americans recognized that they'd witnessed something unexpected, not superior physical ability, but a different mindset forged by a different training culture. The Royal Marines had approached Hell Week not as a challenge to conquer, but as a job to be done. And they'd done it. In the debrief that followed, Rourke asked Fletcher about the difference in approach. "How do your guys maintain that mental state? What's the secret?" Fletcher smiled tiredly. "No secret, really. In Royal Marines training, we learn early that the commando spirit isn't about being superhuman. It's about being determined, professional, and refusing to let your mates down. We call it cheerfulness in adversity. Finding humor and purpose even when everything hurts. You can't outthink suffering, but you can choose not to let it define you." He gestured to his exhausted team. Every one of these lads has been through selection that lasts 7 months, not 1 week. We've done forced marches in winter that would cripple most men. We've spent weeks in Norway learning to survive in Arctic conditions. Hell Week is brutal, absolutely, but it's also finite. We knew it would end. That knowledge, combined with training and trust in each other, carried us through. The experience humbled both sides. The Americans gained new respect for British military training and the mental conditioning it produced. The Royal Marines developed appreciation for SEAL selection and the incredible toughness of American special operations candidates. But the real lesson was simpler. Excellence in military training isn't about nationality or bragging rights. It's about pushing human limits, learning from others, and recognizing that every elite unit has wisdom to share. As the Royal Marines prepared to fly home, Morrison approached Fletcher one last time. "Color Sergeant, I just wanted to say thank you. You saved me on Tuesday, and you taught me something important about mindset. I won't forget it." Fletcher clasped his hand. "You saved yourself, mate. I just reminded you that you could. Now go finish, buds, and become a SEAL. Your country needs blokes like you." The story of the Royal Marines' Hell Week performance spread quickly through special operations communities. It wasn't told as a competition won or lost, but as a reminder that warrior cultures worldwide share common values, determination, brotherhood, and the refusal to quit no matter the cost. Years later, exchange programs between Royal Marines and Navy SEALs became standard, with operators from both units training together and learning from each other's techniques. The instant regret wasn't about the Royal Marines regretting Hell Week. They never did. The regret belonged to those who'd assumed geography or flag determined toughness. Both sides learned what warriors have always known: respect is earned through shared suffering, and excellence recognizes excellence, regardless of accent or uniform.